You guys, it's been so long and I have so much to say, and I think I'm just like overwhelmed with all that I want to say. I don't even know where to begin, and so I just, rather than saying anything, I don't say anything at all. So I actually, my girls are spending the night at grandma's house, and so I have a little bit of extra time and so I thought I should get on here and update everyone on what's been going on and get back into the swing of things. I'm doing really well. So the last time I updated, it was like forever ago. Like literally in the fall was my last actual post. So a lot's happened since then. And I have a lot more subscribers since then too. So I think I'm gonna just give you a little a recap on my story and what I'm doing now. So I was diagnosed with MS in August of 2015. In my diagnosis story, that was the first vlog that I made, and it's not like super great, but it gives you all the information on that, so you can watch that if you want to know all the details. But I was quickly diagnosed. I didn't really have a lot of symptoms up to that point. I had optic neuritis, and the only reason that I found anything out was because I had a headache that wouldn't go away behind my right eye. And so after going to several different doctors, I finally was referred to get an MRI where they found lesions on my brain, and then they sent me to a neurologist. And it took some time to find the right neurologist who I felt comfortable with, who I felt was gonna have my care in their best interest. Anyway, so since then I'm happy with my neurologist. I feel great. So that was the beginning of the story. I was diagnosed. They gave me the Solumedrol, the IV steroid, to take care of the optic neuritis, and that worked. And then they started me on Copaxone right away. And at that time, I had a 15-month-old baby, Drew, and I was nursing him. And they had me stop nursing my baby, the first neurologist, and start taking Copaxone. And I didn't know anything. I didn't know any better. I didn't know. I just did what they told me to do. Knowing what I know now and looking back, I would have done it differently. I would have continued to keep nursing my baby. Everything that this is just my opinion, obviously, but everything that I've heard, I would feel comfortable nursing my baby, taking Copaxone. But I chose to stop, and he was 15 months old, and so I felt, it was okay. It wasn't like it was the beginning, and he had a long time. So I felt good about it. But anyway, so I took Copaxone for, it was the injections 3 times a week, and they were fine. I didn't have any severe side effects. Just sometimes I would have a welt where I injected, stuff like that, but nothing too crazy. And then that started in August. In January of 2016, I got pregnant with my 4th baby. And so at the same time, I found a new neurologist, and the one I'm currently with. So I met with them, went over everything. They had me stop taking Copaxone because I was pregnant, and we kind of just went from there. And so I was doing great, didn't have any problems, and then in March of 2016 I had a miscarriage at about 11 weeks. And after my miscarriage, I did have a relapse, and And so I had to deal with that, and it wasn't terrible, but I did get more IV steroids, and that took care of that. And then it took me a few months to get pregnant again. And so during that whole time, I wasn't on any MS medications. And I believe it was around July I got pregnant again. And then that was my fourth baby. I had him on April 1st of 2017. And so I plan to exclusively breastfeed and do that as long as I felt comfortable and that I wasn't having any symptoms. So I had Bo, and I felt great. I didn't have any relapses. I felt good, and everything went really well with that. I felt really good during my pregnancy, and nursing went really well for me. So I continued to nurse him. So he turned 1, obviously, this year in April 1st, and about 14 months is when I decided I felt like I needed to meet with my neurologist. And I met with my neurologist several times along the way just to check in and just to kind of see where everything's at and kind of get a game plan. So I was in touch with my neurologist this whole time. Anyway, so then at 14 months, I decided I was done nursing, mainly because I had mastitis several times with this baby. And if you've ever had mastitis, it's horrible. And I had it 3 or 4 times. And so I just couldn't do it again. And so I felt comfortable moving on. And so I met with my neurologist. We came up with a plan. The plan was to start taking Tysabri. Is that what it's called? It's where you go and get an infusion every 28 days. So that was the plan. I took time to wean my baby. So it took about a month and a half to fully wean him. And then I came back after I had done all my blood work and everything to meet with the neurologist again and start the medication. Well, it is a riskier drug, and you are at increased risk of developing PML. It's a brain disease, and it can be fatal. So it's more risky. And where, well, I forgot to mention. Okay, so after I was done nursing, I also went and got my MRI. So I got a brain MRI, neck, and spine. And those were the first MRIs I had had since being originally diagnosed. So it had been over 2 years since my last MRIs, and it had been that long since I had been on medication. So I was really nervous to see what the results were because it had been so long. But I felt very comfortable with the decision that I had made because I was pregnant and I was nursing and I wasn't having any symptoms. And so while you're pregnant and nursing, your body has enough immunosuppressants to kind of keep things under control. So I went with that. And so I was really curious to see what the results were once I got those MRI. And turns out everything looked wonderful. So I had no new lesions that had developed. I have no lesions on my neck or spine, and then my brain was exactly the same as when I was diagnosed. So it was really, really good news. So my disease progression had not continued, which was, really the best case scenario. And so because my disease wasn't progressing, then the risk of taking that Tysabri wasn't worth it. Along with that, there is, if you have a certain antibody, I can't remember what it's all called, but you are at even higher risk of developing PML. And I did have that antibody, and I had a really high amount of it. And so it just wasn't worth the risk of taking that, which is a good thing that, my disease isn't to the point where I need to, not worth the risk. So new plan was to either go back on to Copaxone, which I was fine with. Doing the injections every day isn't, or every 3 times a week isn't the most enjoyable thing, but I mean, I feel like it could be worse. So I was willing to do that. However, there is there's a pill that I could take, and that's Aubagio. So the reason I didn't take Aubagio before was because you cannot get pregnant taking Aubagio. It's very serious that you don't get pregnant. It can cause problems with your baby, and so I was planning on having a 4th baby, and so I knew that, and it can stay in your system for like 2 years or something like that after you're done taking it. So that's why I went with Copaxone. It was more, it was a better option if you're continuing to have a baby. So at this point, I am done having kids. We are 4 is good, and so now I am taking Aubagio. And so it's a pill. I take it once a day, and so far so good. I've been taking it for about a month now, and I haven't had any side effects. So we'll see how that goes. I do go back next week to get my blood work done. They do have to test your blood to make sure that your liver that everything's going okay with your liver, because it can cause liver damage. So once a month for 6 months, I go and check my liver, make sure everything's going good with that. So that's a lot of information, I know, but I know several of you have asked what medication I'm on, what I'm doing, and all that. So I just wanted to give you an update with my MS. But I feel great. I don't have any symptoms. I feel completely normal and fine. I know that I'm very, very fortunate, and I know that this might not always be the case. I've had people comment kind of acting like I was being naive, and I'm not. I really am very aware of what this disease can do and what my future could look like. But I choose not to focus on that and focus on the good and how good I'm feeling and try and live my best life. So I am very grateful that I am doing so well, and that I know I'm very aware of how much worse things could be for me, and I am not naive to that. So that's an update on my disease progression and how I'm doing. So far, Aubagio has been good for me. Like I said, I haven't had any symptoms. Some of the symptoms are hair loss, like after you have a baby and your hair falls out, which I was kind of annoyed about because I just feel like my hair just grew back from my last baby. But like I said, I'll take it. It's not the end of the world. It'll grow back. But so far it hasn't really fallen out. But I've only been on it for a month, so we'll see how it goes. I'll let you know how my blood results come back as far as my liver. Hopefully everything looks good with that. They did test they do blood work every time I go in, and my vitamin D levels were low, but I was also nursing, so that's kind of expected. And I'm still doing B12 injections once a month, because I do have a deficiency in that too. So I take about 6,000 6,000 IUs of vitamin D every day, and I do those B12 injections, and that that seems to maintain those levels where they need to be. Yeah, so that's just the update with MS. If you have questions for me, leave a comment below and I would be happy to help you answer them. I'll do another update with my family and all that. And so I do have 4 kids. If you're new to this channel, I have 4 kids. I have a 10-year-old, an 8-year-old, a 4-year-old, and Bo, who is 1 year old now. And so I'm really busy, and summer's here and we're having lots of fun. And so I would like to start vlogging more and doing some more with that. And I really do enjoy making these videos. And it really is so nice to be able to interact with you. I've had a lot of people who've commented and who are in similar situations, who are having babies, who have MS, or just, you know, even if you have nothing to do with MS, who are moms and going through, you know, raising kids. And it's just nice to know that there is a community out there, and I really do enjoy this. So please comment and interact with me, and I'd love to get to know you guys better. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Like I said, I got a lot of new subscribers. It's nice to have you guys, and I look forward to doing more videos and getting back into the swing of things. I got some new editing software, so I have to figure that out and get better at that. I'm not a pro. Anyway, and still, you know, raise 4 babies. So anyway, sorry I'm dragging this on, but just want to give you guys a quick update, and I'll talk to you later.